Mount Norquay is one of the smallest ski resorts in all of Canada, and today I will tell you where it ranks amongst all the other ski resorts I've reviewed thus far on the channel. How's it going? My name is Chris, and my goal this winter season is to rank and review as many ski resorts as possible so that you can know whether or not it's worth taking time off from work and spending your hard-earned money to go check out these resorts for yourself. And when I'm ranking these resorts, if you're new to the channel, what I do is I rank everything both regionally and then worldwide, and I do it from an F to an S tier. So the resort we will be ranking today will fall into the Canadian territory is what I'm calling this one. So this is going to stack rank it against every other ski resort in Canada. So without further ado, let's get into my full ranking and review of Mount Norquay in Banff, Alberta, Canada. So jumping right in, let's go over some mountain stats here. Mount Norquay has an elevation of 7,000 feet, a vertical drop of 1,650 feet. It has 60 named runs. It has 190 skiable acres, and it has 6 lifts. This would be 4 chair lifts and then 2 magic carpets. I believe one of the magic carpets is for like their bunny slope area, and then the other one is for their snow tubing area. So just jumping into my experience with riding here. So I actually went here, this was about 2 seasons ago with my wife, and this was my first time ever getting to even ride in Canada, and this was the first resort I had ever gotten to ride at in Canada. So this was like the first spot we were going to check out. So that season, my wife and I, we had the Epic Base Pass, and so there's something called the Ski Big 3. So there's 3 resorts right there near Banff on the Icon Pass, and so it was this one, Mount Norquay, then there was Lake Louise, and then there was Sunshine Village. And so this was the first one we were going to go and check out. We were staying in a town called Canmore, which is right outside of Banff, like a little bit smaller than like the Banff area. Also, it's a little bit cheaper and a little bit more low key. So that's where we stayed. We didn't stay in like the actual like downtown Banff area. We stayed in the town of Canmore, but the Canmore town was awesome. Highly recommend it. Very affordable. Also, me coming from the United States, going into Canada, especially back then, there was a really good exchange rate for the US dollar to the Canadian dollars. So everything was basically like at a 20% discount. So that was also pretty cool. So housing was cheaper than it would have been here in the United States. Also food and drinks and just any sort of, stuff we wanted to buy was all a lot more affordable since we were coming from America using, US dollars in Canada. Also in the town of Canmore, it was cool because we were staying in an Airbnb that was at like kind of like a condo resort area. So at the Airbnb condo resort area in Canmore, there was a gym, there was hot tubs, there was then restaurants and bars all walking distance because it was right there in like the downtown area. We actually got in on New Year's or like I guess 2 days before New Year's Eve. So we got to see the fireworks, which they had a pretty legit fireworks show, and then we were able to just go walk around and check out the town while we were there. And we were there for a while. We were there for almost 2 weeks, and we were crazy people, so we actually drove there. So the last few days we were in Canada, the temperature dropped from like it was averaging right around maybe like 10 to 20 degrees as a high. It got down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit when we were leaving. So driving back was a bit stressful because we were like, we cannot stop at all because I don't know if my car is going to turn back on. Like the battery might die if I turn my car off for more than like 30 minutes. So driving back, we literally drove from Alberta, Canada, from Banff or from Canmore. We drove straight all the way back to Virginia, which was like a 40-something hour drive. It was pretty crazy, and we did not stop once to like sleep or nothing. We just drove the whole thing, and I drove probably 80% of that drive. That was a crazy drive. Also, kind of a kind of fun fact, maybe not fun for Mount Norquay, but it is widely considered. Mount Norquay is widely considered the smallest like major ski resort in Canada, and I'm saying major as in like has like a high-speed chairlift. At the resort, there's technically like a couple resorts that are considered smaller, but they all have either like tow ropes or like J bars, or have like chairlifts with just like a single seat. So like from a major ski resort setup, Mount Norquay is considered Canada's smallest ski resort. Now, Also fact check me there if any Canadian riders out there know of something that I don't. My homework on that section is all ChatGPT and Google. So if they're lying to me, don't blame me. Just let me know in the comments if there's actually another ski resort that's that y'all know of that's actually considered smaller than this one. But just to put it into perspective of how small this ski resort is compared to the other ski resorts in the area. So that big the ski big three ski resorts that are out there, the Mount Norquay, Lake Louise, and Sunshine Village. Mount Norquay, as I mentioned already, it has 190 skiable acres. Lake Louise, which is like its neighboring resort, that's also part of that big three, has 4,200 skiable acres, and then Sunshine Village has 3,300 skiable acres. So this one's very small compared to those. However, it's crazy that this is considered like the smallest major ski resort in Canada, because it has, once again, 190 skiable acres. Timberline in West Virginia that I've reviewed on this channel, and I think I gave that one for the Mid-Atlantic region. That one ranked an A, in the A tier for the Mid-Atlantic region. Timberline has a whopping 100 skiable acres. So Mount Norquay is almost double the size of Timberline, which is like in the Mid-Atlantic region, one of the better resorts. And this would be like one of the smallest and worst resorts in all of Canada. So it just shows you the different quality of riding you get if you live in like certain areas of like North America. All right, so anyways, jumping back to the location this one is in, Mount Norquay is right across the street from downtown Banff, which is like a super popular spot for people to go visit. It's like one of the top destinations for people to go and visit, like really anywhere in the world, especially for people that are, I mean, really any time of year, but especially for like the ski snowboarding community. Banff is incredible. Not only is it got world-class skiing outside of Mount Norquay with Lake Louise and Sunshine Village, but it's also got a bunch of amazing bars, restaurants, awesome hikes that you can do year-round. So we did like a snowshoeing hike that was really fun. While we were on that snowshoeing hike, we watched people literally like ice climbing with their like picks and everything. And then there's also wild ice skating that we got to do, which was really cool. Literally a lake that was just frozen over. We got to go ice skating there. So like there's just so much to do in this area. If you just want to go on a wintertime vacation, this would be a must-visit location, I would say. I mean, for me, this was probably one of my favorite places I've ever visited in the wintertime, from like a ski town, anything like that. I mean, it was awesome. Also, the major city near Banff is Calgary, which is about an hour and a half away. That's the airport that most sane people fly into. Once again, my wife and I are crazy, so we actually drove here. But if you're a normal person, you could fly into Calgary and then drive over to Banff. It's only about an hour and a half to 2 hours away. However, when we were there, unfortunately, since we were driving back and it was like, once again, it was like negative like 30 degrees Fahrenheit, we did not get to stop in Calgary. I wanted to, but we didn't think it would make sense to stop when we were kind of trying to get as far south as possible, as quick as possible, so that our car didn't freeze over. But anyways, let's jump into the cost of riding at Mount Norquay. It is part of the Icon Pass, so you get access to, if you have the Icon Pass, that ski big three like situation. So that, once again, those are the three resorts right there near Banff on the Icon Pass, and they call themselves the Ski Big Three. And so if you have the Icon Pass, you would get 7 days to ride at any of those three resorts you want. So you could do 1 day at Mount Norquay and then 3 at the other 2 resorts, or whatever, however you want to split it up. And then when we went, we had the Icon Base Pass, which gives you 5 days. However, you do have blackout dates if you're going that route, so just keep that in mind. If you do the Icon Base Pass, you will have blackout dates there. Now, if you wanted to get a lift ticket or season pass to Mount Norquay, a lift ticket, if you're going to buy it the cheapest way possible, which would be doing it online, it would cost $125 in Canadian dollars. US dollars, that would be roughly, right now at least the conversion, it would make it about $91 USD if you were just going to get like a day online pass to Mount Norquay. If you wanted a season pass to Mount Norquay, just Mount Norquay, not the other resorts in that big three, you would pay Canadian dollars $1,179, which translates to roughly $866 USD. That'd be a season pass just to Mount Norquay. That seems a bit steep for what you're getting there, at least just given the quality of riding that's right around it. So if you wanted to get, they actually have a Ski Big 3 season pass, which would give you unlimited access to not just Mount Norquay, but also Lake Louise and Sunshine Village, which once again, I'll talk about those resorts later because I got to ride those ones as well. Like absolutely world-class resorts, like probably the best riding I've ever done in my life, if I'm being honest. Anyways, if you did that Ski Big 3 season pass, it would be $2,199 Canadian, or USD, that would translate to $1,615 USD. So very, very, very expensive to get that season pass, but you are getting literally world-class riding. So if I lived in the area, I would definitely be the sucker buying that Ski Big 3 pass, no question. But unfortunately for me, from a riding perspective, I live in the Mid-Atlantic region, so I ain't getting none of those world-class riding options. Now, as far as the runs here, I will admit this was, once again, I went here 2 seasons ago, and so I wasn't doing the same type of riding that I am now, where when I go to these resorts, I make sure to ride at every single run that they offer, or at least as many as I can. I did not do that this time. I was just going there riding, and I was there with my wife, and she doesn't like doing glade tree runs, nothing like that, like I do. So we were being a little bit more tame. We were kind of taking it. Primarily, we were on the Spirit lift, so we weren't really venturing too much to like the blacks or the other bigger blues on the mountain. I will say the conditions there, once again, it's almost not even fair to compare this one to the other 2 resorts that are nearby, but this one was much more icy. I mean, it's just a smaller mountain, so even with it having way less people there, it feels more crowded just because it's a lot smaller. It's very similar in size and conditions. At least the day that I went, I only went once, to East Coast, like Mid-Atlantic riding, where it's just a little more crowded at the lifts, and then also it's just a little bit more packed in, a little more icy going down the mountain, compared to a lot of the resort, the riding quality I got at the other 2 mountains. Also, it was kind of funny when we were there, the first 2 days we were there, we hadn't gone riding yet, and we kind of had the idea of this one being the first, and then going to check out the other 2 resorts on that big Ski Big 3 kind of collection. And every time we told people that, we're from Virginia and we're going to go ride at Mount Norquay tomorrow, they'd be like, why? Like, just skip that one and go to the other resorts. So, even the locals there kind of frown upon that one. I mean, it's just the closest one, I guess, to Banff, and that's I think really why it's even part of that big 3. But yeah, all the locals were like, don't go there. You're going to hate that place. Go to the other 2. So it's kind of funny. But once again, it's twice the size of Timberline Mountain in West Virginia, which is like one of the mountains that I ride most frequently over here in the Mid-Atlantic. So you Canadian people are spoiled if you're into riding. Wow, you guys are lucky. So anyways, housing options at the resort. There's no housing that I could find online that's offered. However, it's right across the street, like super close to downtown Banff. So downtown Banff has a bunch of Airbnb options and a bunch of hotel options, bunch of housing options. And then also, like I mentioned before, we stayed in Canmore, which is right down the road, which has very affordable hotels and Airbnbs. From looking on Google, if you were going to stay in Banff, you could pretty easily find a pretty solid spot for around $200 a night USD in Banff. And then if you venture to Canmore, which is a little ways away, but if you're willing to drive a little bit to stay in Canmore, you could probably cut that price in half, and you could probably pretty comfortably find somewhere to stay for under 100 USD a night in Canmore. Also in Canmore, just the food options and everything are going to be a little bit cheaper as well. Now, as far as the food goes, on the resort of Mount Norquay, they did have the Cascades Lodge there at the base of the mountain. It was nice, walk through it, solid little, base of the mountain lodge, had food, drinks, all that fun stuff. Nothing crazy massive, nothing like that. Once again, this resort had a very similar feel to a Mid-Atlantic or like East Coast mountain. But it was just in Canada. So also just like the views, I was like looking back at the footage, and the views here compared to the Mid-Atlantic is just insane. The mountains are breathtaking. But anyways, yes, as far as food options on the resort goes, limited. Just that Cascade Lodge seemed to be the main place that you would go and grab a bite and relax. If you're willing to just drive off the resort, not even 10 minutes, you're gonna have a bunch of food options there in downtown Banff. And then also a little farther down the road, you could go to Canmore and have a bunch of food options as well. So let's jump into my regional and then worldwide ranking of Mount Norquay. So for the Canadian region is what I'm calling it. So I'm just going to rank all Canadian resorts together. For the US resorts, I've been doing it based on Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, Midwest, Rockies, West Coast. Canadian, I'm here in Virginia. I'm not going to get a ton of Canadian resorts. So I don't want to like break up the Canadian resorts too much. So I'm just doing it, just Canadian resorts is how I'm going to be setting this up. And I also, I slightly reserve the rights to maybe change these because I've ridden at a lot of American resorts. I've only done these 3 resorts in Canada, but I can only rank it for what it is in comparison to what it has, what it has right down the road. And so therefore, I would put Mount Norquay in the D tier for Canadian resorts. I don't have a ton of small resorts that I can compare it to in Canada, but just comparing it to the other 2 that are right down the road from it, it would definitely be in the D tier. That's me being a little generous, to be honest, if I'm just comparing it to the other resorts right there. So moving over to my worldwide ranking of Mount Norquay. Once again, it's kind of funny that this one is, for at least compared to the other resorts I've ridden at in Canada, would rank very, very, very low. But in comparison to a lot of the resorts I've ridden at, this one would still be pretty decent. So I would actually place this one in the C tier worldwide, just because if I'm putting Timberline and Massanutten and all these other resorts in the C tier, this one would definitely have to be in the C tier as well. Even if it is tiny compared to the other 2 that are right neighboring it, it would still be worldwide. I would easily put it in the C tier category. So let me know in the comments below if you agree with my ranking of Mount Norquay, and also let me know which resorts I should check out next and do a full review and ranking of. Also, if you like my t-shirt, also my hat. My hat's also a hat from a channel. If you like the shirt, the hat, if you want your own free merch, all that you have to do to get free merch is I give out, a free piece of merch in every video that I drop. And so the way that you can do that is by just subscribing to my channel, leave a comment on this video, screenshot the comment, and then send it to me on Instagram. Just let me know that you're looking to get some free merch. And I pick one person at the end of every video to give free merch to. So if you want that to be you, all you have to do is that. Just subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and send it to me on Instagram. And with that said, peace out, y'all. And if you like this video, you'll probably like these videos as well.